Well, it looks like we are on the air, or at least on our digital streams, not really on the air. Otherwise, a lot of people would be complaining about being on the air. But let's get right to it. In all seriousness, this is looking like a pretty nasty day of weather. We're going to have lots of shower and thunderstorm activity, and we already have that in the region right now. But again, none of these are severe or anything like that, but they are worth watching. So let's get you right to it. Let me go ahead and zoom in, and we'll move to this shower there, moving through Upshur and Camp County. But these are all elevated showers and thunderstorms in nature. Nothing to really get worried about or worked up over. It's just plain old rain, maybe some gusty winds, maybe a little bit of hail as well. But where we are detecting a little bit of lightning is in Van Zant County. This is the Shreveport radar site. Let me go ahead and flip over to the Fort Worth radar site since we're a little closer from that site. And what we're seeing on the Fort Worth radar is a little bit of lightning, some heavy rain over the Wills Point vicinity. And this continues to move off to the north of Highway 80 into parts of the Lake Tawakoni region and overall to the west of Highway 19. So if you're traveling along Highway 19 from Emory over Lake Fork and down to the south I-20, you're likely to run into some rain. But if you're on 80 trying to move westbound to Van Zant County, or about to, you shouldn't be watching me while you're driving, obviously. But if you have plans to take yourself west over the next 5 to 10 minutes, I would hold off for now because of the heavy rain that we have in the region. Regardless, we'll zoom this out, and as you can see, heavy rain across our central counties, or at least parts of our central counties. And this coverage will slowly increase in coverage as we move through the next several hours. Another storm I'm watching is to the north of Madisonville over here, but heavy rain. We continue to see that heavy rain moving from south to north along Interstate 45. And that will continue to be the case here over the next hour or so. But nothing eye-catching, nothing severe. We're just dealing with plain old rain, which we really do need. Now, I'm going to step off screen just to switch over the graphic piece because we haven't had time to get the magic board corrected. Of course, it's magic. We can control that. We can control the weather. Just kidding. We can't control the weather. Otherwise, there would be a lot of people complaining about the weather we'd be choosing today. But here is the setup. First off, we just looked at radar here locally. There's not a lot going on. Winds out of the south, they continue to increase, and also the southwesterly flows increasing as well. And anytime you got southeast winds at the surface, those are the winds you feel. That's bringing in a lot of the Gulf moisture. And then you have southwesterly winds several thousand feet above us. That's a change in direction with height, which means there's a little bit of spin in the atmosphere, and that's going to create issues later in the form of severe weather, including the threat of tornadoes, some damaging winds, large hail because of strong updrafts in some of these stronger storms. So this is definitely something that's going to be worth watching. Otherwise, cold front to our west, that will provide the lift. Lift is another key ingredient to get those storms going, to get those storms surface-based, and to really drive those storms developing as we head into this afternoon. That's going to be moving off to the east. It's going to collide with these winds a little later on today and the moisture coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, which will lead to stronger storms. And again, this is concerning here. There's no way around it. I had to take a couple of deep breaths when I watched it because I have not seen this that often here in East Texas. This is now a level 4 risk on a scale of 1 to 5. Never seen a high risk here in East Texas. I've seen a couple of level 4s, and you know, I had to remind myself what was the outcome of those. Yeah, we saw intense storms. We saw a couple of tornadoes out of them, but we all made it through it just fine. But this is something to be taken very seriously. Just have a plan in place. 9 times out of 10, you won't need that severe weather plan, but you know, that 1 out of 10 times, if there's a tornado warning issued in this region right here, that tornado could touch the ground relatively quickly, and it could create some damage. So regions from Trinity, Houston, Anderson County, Cherokee, Nacogdoches, southwestern Russ County. That's that level 4 moderate risk there, extending off to the west. So what we're going to have to watch out for are storms forming to the west of the Trinity River and moving into our area. So there's just a lot going on. And again, if you're in the level 3, which does include all of our major cities, including Tyler, Lufkin, Nacogdoches, Henderson, Longview, Marshall, Mineola, Gilmer. You guys are still going to see some potent storms. Don't get me wrong or anything like that. You're just not in the level 4 risk, but treat this as if you were. It's much better to be safe than sorry in a threat like this. But again, we'll be all right. We just need to take a deep breath and we need to exercise those precautions, because 9 times out of 10, you won't even need that severe weather plan, but you are really going to need it for the other 10% of those tornadoes that end up occurring. And this is a pretty high threat here in the red. I mean, that's about mid-level, a higher threat for us, because typically we're either in the green, the brown, or the yellow. And a lot of us are in the brown or the yellow, but some of us in the red. That does include Anderson, parts of Trinity, and Houston County for that higher percentage and higher tornado threat for us today. So I am watching out for that very carefully, but this is going to be something where not only is it the tornado threat, it's also the damaging wind threat and heavy rain threat as well. A lot of people forget about this, and because people forget about this, they run into issues with flooded roadways. This is a flash flood moderate risk that does extend from Tyler, Gilmer, Longview, Henderson, Jacksonville, Rusk, pointing off to the south and to the east. Some heavy rain is expected, and this could actually end up with several inches of rain, maybe 1 to 3 for our northwestern counties, 3 to 5 for deep East Texas, just depending on where that thunderstorm training sets up. Now, of course, thunderstorm training, that's one storm after another after another. Just a couple of safety tips for you. If you have a basement, great, that's where you need to go. Water table's a little high here in East Texas, so most of our infrastructure does not contain basements, but you know, we got some pretty sturdy structures here, right? Get out of the mobile homes, call a friend up, and go to the interior part of the house, well away from those outside doors or windows. As many walls between you and the outside world as possible. So basement, that's great. I mean, kind of secondhand knowledge to know that to go into your basement. But if you don't have a basement, like most of us don't, it's that interior closet or bathroom that you need to go to just in case a warning is issued. Maybe have, you know, some water, snacks, first aid kit, what have you in that room. And I mean, if a warning is issued for you and the tornado doesn't hit, which in most cases it won't in a warning, then I mean, maybe you hang out with the kids, keep the kids calm, keep the parents calm, and you should be all right in that regard. 60s right now across the area, and these warmer temperatures, they're going to warm up maybe 5, 6, 7 more degrees from where we are right now, just depending on how much of a break we get in between these showers here, and that should provide enough fuel that we see that severe weather a little later on today. So that is definitely something I'm tracking. Now, this is the latest model run of the HRRR. That stands for the high resolution rapid refresh model. That's a lot of R's in there. That's why I like to call it the HRRR, or some meteorologists like to call it the HRRR. This has been really accurate so far today. I showed and verified a couple of the storms that we're seeing right now. We talked about that a little earlier, and we do have the showers and thunderstorms that are originating in north central Texas and some of central Texas, and some of these will progress off to the east here in the next hour or so. So about 20 minutes from now, this is 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we're dealing with those showers and those thunderstorms, but those slowly progress to the east throughout the afternoon. About 2 and 3 o'clock, western counties seeing about what they're seeing right now. I don't really anticipate this severe weather threat to pick up until a little later on this afternoon, which, I mean, that's good news for us if you have those outdoor activities planned. I mean, first off, I'd go ahead and bring them inside if you could, but if you absolutely need to be outside, you should have at least a little window of an opportunity before 2 or 3 o'clock to get those chores done. Now, by 4, 5, 6 o'clock, rain chances, and more importantly, the intensity of these thunderstorms will increase. One thing that catches my eye about this model run here is notice the little notches on the back of these storms. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 examples like that. And if this were live Doppler radar, it's not live Doppler radar, of course, but it is a futurecast model. But any of these little notches, you see one right there in Rains County, the little appendage there, and then in Van Zant County, and then all the way down into Anderson County. That will be something we have to watch, because that is a tall tale sign that the storm is rotating in nature, and that's at 6 o'clock this evening. So right at prime time, KETK News at 6 with Neil Barton, Sarah Allegre, and Chief Meteorologist Marcus Bagwell. That would be what we'd be tracking then. Now, showers and thunderstorms, they do become a little more robust, which is concerning to me. You noticed on the radar a couple of hours ago, we were not seeing any of those reds, pinks, or blacks. Well, now we're seeing it across our northwestern counties from Henderson up into Hopkins County. So the intense activity starts out to the west and slowly progresses off to the east. By 9, 10 o'clock, we're still seeing those showers and thunderstorms out to the west for parts of Anderson County. Again, there's that black showing up on the screen. That's usually an indication that we're seeing large hail at that point, but we'll continue to keep a close eye on that. And then these storms are going to begin to materialize around midnight tonight. Now, these are intense. This is a broken line of storms, which is not good because when these storms are separated, that's when they could really become real strong. And then as we roll into the afternoon, or not afternoon, but after midnight tonight, that's when we're going to start to see these storms consolidate a little bit. Now, anytime storms consolidate into a linear or line feature like you see on your screen, we could see heavy rain, especially if the line is moving slower, which I do expect at this point. And we could also see that threat of damaging winds increase as this thing progresses off to the east. That's 2 o'clock in the morning. By 6, 7, 8 o'clock, look at Deep East Texas and Shelby County. And my goodness, still seeing some of that heavy rainfall. And then this will progress off to the east. And as it does so, we'll start to see some drying, and then clouds will move in from the northwest as the wraparound component of the storm system, which we were talking about, the storms we saw last week. It will give us a few clouds early on Tuesday and will continue through the afternoon as well. Now, I mentioned training of thunderstorms earlier. This is important because anytime you see training of thunderstorms, basically what that means, take Lufkin for example. If they see one storm after another storm after another storm because the system is dragging its feet, that's bad. And we do tend to see an increased chance of flash flooding. That's what this flood watch is out for. I've been talking a lot today, so sometimes the words that come out of my mouth are not the words that need to be used. But anyway, flood watch is out for some of our southeastern counties. That does include Houston, Trinity County, pointing off into the northeast at Cass County, and south and east of that. So we will continue to have to watch for that, and this runs through 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Let's go ahead and check those rainfall totals out. And this really hasn't changed. Meteorologist Andrew Samet did a great job of forecasting this. I had nothing to add to it this morning, but off to the northwest in the green, 1 to 3 inches of rainfall, and then 3 to 5 for our southeastern counties. And it's kind of interesting. Lufkin has already picked up 2/100ths of an inch of rain, and then 1/100th of an inch has picked up in Jacksonville. But those are the only locations right now that have seen any measurable rain. But believe me, they will increase, and as a result of that, we will have to watch out very carefully for that flash flooding. So one of the main things with flash flooding is if there's standing water on the roadway and you know it's prone to flood, don't even chance it. Just turn around. You know the old saying goes, turn around, don't drown. But I mean, I'm serious about that because, you know, it could cause severe damage to your car or your SUV that you're driving to work. And you could also be in danger too if you drive through that thing and it starts carrying your car to the part of the river that's much deeper than what it is over the pavement there. So that's something that we'll have to keep an eye on, especially for tomorrow morning's work commute. We will have to keep a watchful eye on the potential of flash flooding. Of course, I'll be here most of the night and tomorrow morning, so we will continue to watch out for that. If warnings issued, we'll tell you about it. But again, there is that level 4 severe weather outbreak or severe weather outlook. Level 4, scale of 1 to 5. That is a 4 on a scale of 1 to 5. Strong winds, large hail, and tornadoes for that matter. That's an old graphic. I'll have to add on to that with the individual threats. But let's talk a little more about the threats and what I'm generally concerned for. And then we're going to chat about the timing a little more in depth and probably take a look at Futurecast one more time. But severe weather threats, damaging winds, tornadoes, heavy rain. Notice this, it is a medium to high threat for all 3 of those. That hail threat is at a medium. So it's a little bit lower just because we don't have as much updraft strength. But given the latest model runs, we might have to bump this one too, because it does look like those updraft strengths have increased just a little bit. So we will be watching that. But I know, I get it. The scariest one for most of us out there is that tornado threat. Hollywood has not done us any favors there. Anytime there's a tornado on a movie, bad things tend to happen, right? Well, it is going to be an issue, and tornadoes can be destructive, obviously, so we need to keep a watchful eye on that. But we do see higher end tornado threats here in East Texas. If you just moved here, I mean, just know we do have severe weather. It is the state of Texas, right, where we do have big changes day to day, hour to hour here. So it's just something where it's like, okay, you know, I just moved in out west or moved in from a place that doesn't get severe weather. So let's come up with a plan now, just in case one of those warnings have been issued. If you haven't seen a tornado with your own eyes, I discourage that, by the way, going outside. Just know it can and eventually it will happen here in East Texas. It's just a matter of time and matter of event when it does end up happening. But once again, there are your threats. You've seen heavy rain, you've seen strong winds, I'm sure of it. Medium to high threat there, medium to high threat for tornado. And then that heavy rain, that's pretty much notes for flash flooding, where we could see several inches of rain in a short amount of time. So there are your threats. We'll take you through Futurecast one more time. And again, guys, you know, if you're watching the live stream, excuse me. If you're watching the live stream and you got it from my Facebook account or something like that, feel free to ask a question. If, you know, something doesn't make sense to you or you're wondering what's going to happen in your area, I'd be happy to answer those questions. We'll be with you all afternoon. If it's not me, it'll be Chief Meteorologist Marcus Bagwell or Meteorologist Andrew Samet that will help you guys out. But once again, you know, this is a pretty intense event, and one of those events where it doesn't happen that often where you're under a level 4 moderate risk. But stepping aside with that, let's go ahead and look at Futurecast one more time. Through 1:30, we're still seeing the same bubble ups. A couple of showers right now. We've got one near Mount Pleasant. We've got one in Van Zant and Rains County, but they're becoming a little more numerous out to the west. As we roll into about 3 o'clock, a little more robust for our western counties. That spotty activity will turn into scattered activity. By 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, we're still tracking those showers and thunderstorms, but anytime you see these little notches forming and you do start to see some pink in the storms, it's an indication that they are strengthening and they are trying to rotate a little bit. So we'll be watching that across our western counties, and I'll be keeping my eye on what's happening in central Texas and Waco, because these could be some pretty nasty thunderstorms that could end up materializing. And showers and storms will get stronger. This is 7 o'clock. Storms at about 8, 9 o'clock, getting even stronger than that. This is 10 o'clock. Showers and thunderstorms still in play. Heavy rain continuing, especially for the southeastern half of the KETK and Fox 51 viewing area there. And we could very well see some heavy rain, because from southwest and northeast, this is exactly where the storms are going to set up. That, and for parts of deep East Texas, that is going to end up at several inches of rain if this model does not end up changing. But the rain will continue to slide further and further off to the southeast. By 8 o'clock in the morning, we're still seeing those showers and thunderstorms for parts of Arkansas and western Louisiana. But most of East Texas is done, but we're still going to have to keep our wits about us if we're in our eastern counties. Still some heavy rain coming down, maybe even some hail for Sabine County. But eventually, that moves off to the east. A few passing clouds here and there for the remainder of East Texas. That's just because the storm system is going to wrap a few clouds around it, and that will kind of eject itself into East Texas there. And once again, flash flood watch is out for our southeastern counties. Rainfall totals 3 to 5 for our deep East Texas counties, 1 to 3 to the northwest of that, where we're going to start to see that shade of green, and this is all valid through Tuesday morning. But the main reason why we decided to hop on digital real fast is because of this level 4 risk. Let me get that text box out of the way for you. And there you go. Mainly for this evening and tonight, that's when our strongest storms are going to be, I think. And again, southwestern counties, this is not very typical for East Texas. We get the enhanced risk a lot, but usually it's only a fraction of our area. Very seldom do we see the entire viewing region in this level 3 risk there in the orange, but level 4 is now out for some of our southwestern counties. I'd say about a third, maybe a fourth of us are in that level 4 risk, and that's where we could see some pretty intense thunderstorms. So once again, tornado threats there, damaging wind threats there, the hail threats there. Level 4, you know, it might happen once a year, it might happen twice a year. It's pretty rare, but take a deep breath. As long as we are responsible with preparing ourselves for the weather, you should be fine. And how are you responsible? You have a way to get warnings. That's one. Two, you know exactly where to go just in case a tornado warning or high-end severe thunderstorm warning is issued for your area. That is an interior room, interior closet, and have a few things in that interior closet. You got most of the afternoon to do that. Grab a pair of shoes for your kids. Grab a pair of shoes for yourself. Get a helmet just in case it is one of those serious situations or rare situations where a tornado is headed right for your house. Doesn't happen often, but it's just something to have in place just in case you're unlucky and a tornado happens to move closer to your house. Remember helmets. You know, the reason why I say people should have a helmet is if there's flying debris in the area, that will really help to keep your head safe. And then the closed-toed shoes, like your tennis shoes, your running shoes, hiking boots, what have you, that's very important too, because if there has been damage done, then you're going to want to have closed-toed shoes if you're going to be walking around. You know, there could be exposed nails, exposed wood, any debris that might be on the ground, branches that could cause damage to your feet if you don't have those shoes on. So it's just a couple of tips. First aid kit, maybe blanket and pillows or something like that in your safe space as well, because this is one of those days where we want you to exercise on the cause of caution here. Well, my voice is about to go out, so I'm going to get a drink of water. But again, we're going to be following this all day for you guys. Chief Meteorologist Marcus Bagwell will be here in a few minutes. Andrew Sammett's going to follow probably a couple hours after, and I'll be here most of the night keeping you guys updated. Stay safe.